So, interesting tidbit in the Florida race. So, they're going to have a hand recount that's supposed to be certified by Sunday. Not for Gillum, though. A hand recount or recount hasn't been called for Gillum's race. It's been called for Nelson's race. That's interesting. And they're going to do a hand recount because apparently the machine was missing some of the items, or some of the, what they call them, undervotes or something to that effect. And in order to make sure they got everything, they're going to do it by hand. Another point, Broward County apparently sent their results in a couple of minutes too late, and the results were going to be ignored, which is utterly bizarre that that's allowed, because if that means you're literally not counting people's votes out of a technicality. But let's do the story. Florida Secretary of State had ordered a manual recount of Florida ballots after the results of an unofficial machine count showed that some of the votes may have been overlooked in the process. Election officials were expected to inspect by hand any ballots that were designated undervotes, or I don't know what this word is, something votes, which are cases in which a voting machine may have reviewed a ballot and concluded that the voter had skipped a contest or marked more than one selection. Democratic incumbent Senator Bill Nelson trailed his Republican challenger, former Republican Governor Rick Scott, by about 12,600 votes, or 0.15% of the more than 8 million ballots cast following an electronic recount. The razor-thin margin triggers a manual recount under state law, which says that any race that ends with a margin of 0.25 must be recounted. So, right here, multiple problems were reported, including one Florida county, Broward County, which candidate Rick Scott sought to sue earlier for alleged voter irregularities, despite presenting no evidence, having the results of their recount rejected because they were submitted 2 minutes after the 3 p.m. deadline. That's incompetence. That's rank incompetence. Broward County happens to be a heavily Democratic-leaning county, which made it a favorite punching bag for Republicans. The question becomes, what was the difference between the Broward initial count versus the current Broward count? Meaning, when they did that recount, was there a disparity between what the recount ended up being versus the official results for that night? If so, and that stands, that may be a hit for Nelson. The race for Florida governor between Andrew Gillum and Republican DeSantis is also incredibly close, but no recount has been ordered as of yet. Results have also not been certified by the election official in Florida. The results of the manual recount for the state race are deadline on Sunday, November 18th by noon, official said. We will know by Sunday the results of that race in Florida. I think it is interesting, though, that no recount has been called for Gillum and DeSantis, but by the same token, it hasn't been called yet either. So, Florida, oh my God, we're still waiting again on Florida. Florida need to up its game. I'll end it at that. A lot of people have been saying that there have been abnormalities at the voting. I'm not against that opinion. I mean, the only thing is, the people who are pushing forward this opinion were associated with the campaigns. So it makes me, it's like, where do you go from there? You're stuck in wherever you are, you're looking at it. You have people who are part of the campaign saying that they're being cheated and that all of this other shenanigans was going on, but the judge himself said that there was nothing to see here. It's like, where you go with that story. That said, just be aware that apparently there were irregularities going on in Broward. I don't think Tim Canova is wrong for pointing out what the hell is going on in Broward. particularly with Brenda Snipes she destroyed the ballots initially. So I don't necessarily think it's insane for him to look at this and say there's something wrong with this process. Fair enough. Whether there's cheating or fraud going on, that is hard to say. Whether that is going to impact the vote or not, that is hard to say. Only thing I can go by is what the judge say right now. And the judge says there's nothing to see here, folks. Doesn't mean he's right. Nor does it mean that Canova is wrong. Just wait and see. I do know that there was extreme shenanigans going on in the Democratic primary, which makes me prime to have a certain idea that it's not necessarily insane that some shenanigans can be taking place. But I don't know that. So we'll wait and see. Sunday, we'll find out what the results are for Florida. We have to wait all the way to Sunday. Jesus Christ, that election was like a week ago. Florida, Florida, Florida. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. And you can always support the Patreon. Thanks all.